Let's get those waiver wire claims in, and let's be on alert. It is trade deadline day. We could have some breaking news, so we might be talking to you throughout the day. We do have a show at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network, but right now we'll go through the waiver wire. No major trades on offense yet, and we'll tell you who our top priorities are. Welcome, everybody. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Adam Aizer, Dave Richard, and Jamey Eisenberg. Guys, we've reached the Bon Jovi moment, Jamey. We are halfway there. 9 weeks down, 9 to go.
Yeah, it's been a fun start so far. I think you mentioned this on Express yesterday. It's really, at this point, for fantasy managers, who's going to stay healthy toward the end of the season that may win your league, as opposed to having just the best roster, because it's been brutal with injuries and, unfortunately, more to come.
Yeah, it's been really rough.
So
hey,
fun.
Dave.
So fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into it. Jamey, who are our top 3 waiver wire priorities this week?
It's a strange week in terms of that. You know, I answered your question for the 1 p.m. show, so I struggle with it. Parker Washington to me is an easy one, just given the injuries that the Jaguars are dealing with at receiver, and don't be surprised if they make a trade to add a wide receiver by the end of the day. And then I went with 2 tight ends after that, Harold Fannin and Colston Loveland. So they're just it's another week of just a lot of good wide receivers, and one may be better than the next. I just feel like Washington's opportunity kind of sets him apart from the group. But I think you can get difference makers at the tight end spot. So Fannin's been very good over the last month. I don't see that changing. And I'm hopeful with another injury to Cole Kmet and what Loveland just showed us against the Bengals, that the guy that we thought coming into the NFL that was drafted, surprisingly enough, ahead of Tyler Warren, can maybe start to show some things down the stretch as well.
Yeah, Loveland's got the Giants this week. They've been pretty up and down, but kind of mostly down recently against tight ends. Well, I mean, Kittle had
Dallas Goedert.
Goddard, and also, yeah.
Right. Goddard. Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Kittle had only 4 targets. Teams are running a lot on the Giants, so that's hurting the pass production. And then Minnesota's been terrible against tight ends lately. 4 touchdowns to tight ends in their last 4 games. So that's Colston Loveland's next 2 matchups. So Jamey goes Washington, Fannin, Loveland. Dave, how about you?
My top 3, I'm going to sweep it with tight ends. Fannin is my number 1 as well. I think he's locked into at least a good role in Cleveland. If David Njoku gets traded, then it's going to be a massive role for Harold Fannin. But Njoku's number 2, because even if he doesn't get traded, he's still going to see a lot of targets in Cleveland. We're talking about the top 2 target getters for the Cleveland Browns, and a quarterback that loves to throw short, and a team that's probably going to be at minimum in competitive games most of the rest of the season. So I like both of those tight ends off the top. And then Loveland would be 3rd for me. I absolutely love what I saw from him last week. And even if you take away the yards after his last catch and the touchdown after his last catch, he'd still have 6 catches for 85 yards last week. Adam, you'd still really like him if he finished the game with 6 catches for 85 yards, right? I don't think that that's something that we would, turn our nose up at.
That's like an average game against Cincinnati, though.
Right. And so, like, I think most teams would have tackled Loveland instead of just letting him bounce off of them and then run to the end zone. But what happened, and it's great to see. More importantly, 7 targets is really, really good. His route rate has gone up each of his last 3 games. I don't see that changing, but number 1, he played against Cincinnati. Number 2, he's still in an offense with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Unless that changes, he's still going to be competing for targets pretty much every single week. So I like him, but I'd rather have the Browns tight ends. I feel like they're a little bit safer.
All right, just a couple of things here. 1, does the impending return of Cedric Tillman put a damper on the Browns tight ends because he's practicing now? And 2, are we sure Fannin is the best Browns tight end? Let's assume neither gets traded. Because I feel like a few weeks ago we liked Njoku better. So Jamey, you can address those 2 things. If we're really going to put this much priority on Fannin and maybe Njoku as well, are we sure we're not being led astray? I guess with the return of Tillman coming up, and just the fact that we haven't always known who the best tight end on the Browns was.
I don't really worry about Tillman. I think he's going to hopefully stretch the defense a little bit and maybe make things a little bit different from how they operate, but I don't see him getting many targets based on what Judy has done and what Isaiah Bond has done. I think Dave said it best. Dylan Gabriel is kind of operating in the short area of the field and not afraid to, trust his tight ends based on what they've been doing, especially in Kevin Stefanski's offense. I know he's handing over play calling duties, but I don't think that's going to change how things are going for this offense here. And yes, it could be that Njoku is better than Fannin. You have a 3-game sample size because Njoku missed one of those games in the 4 where Fannin's been good. So 3 of 4, Fannin's been 11 plus PPR points. 2 of 3, Njoku's been, I think it's
13
12 plus PPR points.
Yeah.
There's just enough, I think, for both of these guys to be successful. So whether it's one's 1 and one's 1A or vice versa, I think you could potentially start both. So it really comes down to, like, I went into our FFT league, for example. I had both Browns tight ends. I dropped Njoku to pick up Loveland because they're both run a bye. And so I'm not going to go back and pick up Njoku at this point unless he's traded someplace that is, like Green Bay, for example. If he goes to Green Bay.
That's the one.
That's the spot at this point. So
Yeah.
for the most part, I think I'm just going to ride it out with Fannin and hope that the Browns focus a little bit more on what their future is, as opposed to, maybe trying to make Njoku happy. Because I'd be very surprised if Njoku's on the roster next year also.
Okay, and then one more question for you guys here, right? So we use 65% roster percentage as the threshold of the guys that they have to be 65% roster or less for us to really focus on them here. But then you've got a few players that are actually under that threshold, and then one more who's just above it. And I want to talk about the Buccaneers, okay? Because we could spend time picking up players on the Browns, or we can take a look at the Buccaneers, right? Because and it's tough though. It's tough. It's Chris Godwin. When's he coming back? It's Tez Johnson and it's Kate Otten. And, I think there's a case to be made that that those are the guys we should be picking up, right? Because we know what that offense is capable of doing. Dave, how does the Buccaneers factor into the waiver wire priorities?
I hated what we last saw from Chris Godwin. He didn't look healthy and he's already been banged up. Well, he obviously came into the year recovering from his injury and then he got banged up again. I don't know, when he's coming back, and it could be this week, but we don't know how effective he'll be, how many targets he'll get. So I'm nervous about going to pick up Chris Godwin. There are other wide receivers, Parker Washington certainly ahead of him, that I would rather speculate on. I'm not picking up Godwin with the idea that he's going to become a must start for my fantasy team. Tez Johnson is kind of in that same boat, except he's healthy and he's faster. And I like the role that he's been in for the past few weeks. And I'm hoping that he builds on that coming out of their bye week. Otten could be impacted significantly by any and all returns at wide receiver. And it's not just Tez and it's not just Godwin. It's Jalen McMillan, who is an easy IR stash if you've got IR spots. And we don't know when he's coming back. But I remember watching him on the day that I went to their joint practice against the Titans, and he looked great. So hopefully he's recovered from his injury, and it was a pretty gross neck injury, and hopefully he's fine, but he's somebody that you can at least stash and then see what happens. So I think you make a good point with the Bucs. If I had to pick one of them, it would be Tez Johnson. There are some receivers that I would consider alongside Tez as far as stash guys go, and I would only consider that if I'm really good at tight end and I'm really good at flex. Like, I don't even need bye week replacements anymore. I got Brock Bowers. I'm good. I don't have to necessarily worry about finding another tight end for the rest of the way in the case like that.
Okay. Yeah, and if you look at the last week that they played, week 8, see some pretty modest numbers from Kate Otten, 4 for 40 on 5 targets. From Tez Johnson, 5 for 43 on 6 targets. He actually led the team in receiving. They threw 24 times for 152 yards. They ran the ball all over. Yeah, Baker had kind of a bad game, but they also won 23-3 at New Orleans. So it was just kind of not a great game script. And again, Tez Johnson leading the team in receiving, not something to be taken lightly that week. Ibuka just had kind of an off game, 3 for 35 on 9 targets. All right. So actually, it's not that bad of a waiver wire week when there are just some guys who are just above the 65% range. There's really no good running backs, but all right, we'll get into it. And at 1 o'clock, we'll see on CBS Sports Network, 1 p.m. Eastern. Watch CBS Sports Network. We're also going to be answering your questions. Jamey, how much FAB are you spending this week?
Again, it comes down to your record. We're at the point in the season where if you need to make a big move to get something that you feel is going to help you, then you do it. And we had this conversation last week, obviously, about Tyrone Tracy, and it blew up in our face. The fact that we spent a lot of FAB on him, I know a lot of people did. And he, didn't take advantage of the opportunity of Cam Scatterbo being out. So, in the case of Parker Washington, who, is coming off back-to-back games with significant targets, and, you had Hunter get hurt and now Brian Thomas Jr. injured. for however long those two are going to be out. It might be season ending for Hunter at this point. I would say at most, probably you're looking at 20%. I wouldn't go crazy for it. Again, it's just as good of a situation as he might be in. The schedule is brutal, and we are talking about a guy that's been hovering around the third and fourth receiver for them. So Jamey Brown, I think, will have a role. Brenton Strange is going to return soon, and you'll know. So just if you're like Adam, who likes to do his fab moves, in the early part of the day.
Oh,
if the Jaguars make a trade, you may have to obviously circle back and reevaluate that.
I probably should have led with this. Don't do your fab moves until after 4:00 today. This Tuesday only. No, you've got to wait, because if there's a big trade that could it's going to make you go back and do your waiver moves all over again. So I would just wait till after 4:00 to do anything.
I do it because I think it's helpful for the 1:00 show for me to kind of know where I'm at.
Well, why don't you pretend to do it? Like, do it in your mind and then talk about it on the 1:00 show, and then
I'm going to do it anyway. But
all right, waste your time.
Probably not going to be that many things that change. Right?
I think we probably get maybe 3 skill position players that are dealt.
And it could be small time players. Like, we can wish all day long for Breece Hall and even Njoku to get moved, but oftentimes it just doesn't make enough sense for the teams to do it.
What do you think the rest of the season looks like for Parker Washington, guys? Are we just going to be fooled by another wide receiver, or is this one different?
I think it's different in the sense of there's significant injuries to the Jaguars receiving core. Like, you're not getting Travis Hunter back for at minimum 3 more games. So you have him out and he's not there. And Brian Thomas Jr. may have a high ankle sprain. So we know how that goes. It could be 2 or 3 weeks that he's missing time. So if you're not having those 2 guys on the field, again, I know it's Houston this week. I forget who they have in week 11. You are talking about a guy that just had 18 targets in his last 2 games, 19 targets in his last 2 games. Like, Trevor Lawrence is going to throw him the ball. So now, is that going to be, and you asked me this yesterday, I think, is this going to be a Chimere DK situation? Is it going to be a Kendrick Bourne does 2 weeks situation? Is it going to be Kayshon Boutte? It could go any one of those directions, where a guy seemingly is stepping into the number 1 role, and then things sort of get, altered a little bit because, now Jamey Brown steps up, or Brenton Strange comes back, or one of these scenarios. But I think just looking at what the Jaguars personnel is, like, he's that guy right now. And high-end number 3 receiver, I think at best, is probably what you should be viewing him as. But that's not a bad piece to pick up at this point.
He's Will Smith in the room with no furniture, because they've got nothing else around him, especially if BTJ misses time. All right, they've got Houston, then the Chargers, who just shut down Chimere DK. Ha ha ha, that's sarcasm. At Arizona and at Tennessee are their next 4 games.
Yeah, that's 3 tough ones.
I don't love that. I don't love that. And especially with Brenton Strange coming back, because he'll take some of those targets away from Parker Washington. Like, I agree. Like, in full PPR, he can get you 10 to 13 PPR points. And he might be able to do it against Houston because he's such a short area option, and they don't have a lot of other options.
He hasn't been. Like, that's the thing. I thought Parker
got to
Washington
adjust him if they adjust him to do that.
High slot rate, short area. Not really. Like 40% slot rate, which is high, but it's not, always in the slot.
I think what you should hope for is those 2 games that Wan'Dale had without Darius Slayton after Malik Neighbors got hurt. So he's more of a Wan'Dale Robinson type of player, and then was pushed into a different role and excelled in it. Yeah. Can you do the same thing?
All right. Well, here's a positive for Parker Washington. You look at his game log. He's got a lot of games where he barely played. He's only got 4 games this year where he's played more than 33% of the snaps. But 2 of those games are the 2 most recent games. Now, 4 games, Parker Washington has played 71.4% or more of the snaps. He has, in those 4 games, 11, 2, 10, and 9 targets. So if he is basically a full-time player, that is 9 or more targets in 3 of 4 games where he's played more than 70% of the snaps. So that's the hope here. All right, we're going to take a break, and got a couple of important things. I have a great rule change. Something that happened in the game last night really upset me deeply, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to make
an NFL rule change, not a fantasy rule.
NFL rule change.
Gotcha.
Oh, right. I thought it was
a
fantasy rule change.
Yeah. Also, I want to get a little FFT Open update. We haven't talked about this in 8 weeks, and that's not fair to the people who donated to St. Jude and are part of this amazing tournament. We're going to get a little bit of an update on our leagues. And
on Wednesday, it feels like a Wednesday thing.
We do it Wednesday. Sure, we'll do it tomorrow then. All right, I'll bump it to tomorrow. But listen, football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown in the game, but his teammate scores instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. So that's right. You bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. And if you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. With BetMGM's second chance offer, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Try a first touchdown scorer wager with confidence today. BetMGM, make it legendary. News and notes when we come back on FFT.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So Aaron Glenn, the head coach for the Jets, did not name a quarterback for this week against Cleveland. What's going on, man? CJ Stroud's in the concussion protocol, and Jaden Daniels has a dislocated elbow. Daniels is not officially out for the season yet. Quinshon Judkins was at practice yesterday. So, and did we see anything on Barkley? I know he was optimistic going into the bye. Anything new on Barkley?
I've not seen anything, but hopefully what he said prior to the bye is applicable, that he expects to play.
Okay. Yeah, we're hoping. Otherwise, waiver wire would be a lot different this week. Omarion Hampton is not going to be back until at the earliest week 13. It is a long-term injury for him. They've got Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, then a bye. And then week 13 comes along. We might have Hampton back then. Aaron Jones, shoulder injury. He's been optimistic that he'll be able to play. Samaje Perine has a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss. He's week to week. They have a bye this week. Wide receiver news. Brian Thomas Jr.'s got that ankle injury. I haven't really heard any updates. He stayed in the game after getting hurt, but I heard high ankle sprain, so could be at that for Brian Thomas Jr. Don't know for sure that Puka Nacua is going to play this week. There seems to be optimism there. Garrett Wilson is going to practice this week. Marvin Mims, they play on Thursday, and he was listed as a non-participant, still in the concussion protocol. They play Thursday, Denver against Las Vegas. Matthew Golden's shoulder injury is apparently not serious. Kayshon Boutte is day-to-day with his hamstring injury. Demario Douglas didn't really get a boost in playing time. He did get a little bit of a boost in production, but he actually caught his touchdown on a wheel route out of the backfield before the Boutte injury. Kyle Williams played more for the Patriots. And that's pretty much it. Luke McCaffrey out for the season with a broken collarbone. Tucker Kraft out for the season with a torn ACL, and Cole Kmet has an injury. And offensive line, the Chargers, Joe Alt's out for the year with an ankle injury. That's brutal. And Bobby Hart, their right tackle, is also out. This team is super injured. Do you think we should be downgrading, Dave, the Chargers pass catchers?
No, because we've seen Justin Herbert connect with them even when his offensive line was in tatters before. So I would imagine they'll be in plenty of games where they're going to have to do that again.
You don't know what Cole Kmet's injury is, do you?
Back, right?
No.
What is it?
Concussion.
Kmet? Oh, sorry about that. All right. Well, it's important because that's
Just
usually
the way you paused was Cole Kmet has an.
Yeah, I didn't put it in the notes. And then I was thinking back, we talked about it on yesterday's show, and I don't think we knew that.
No, I remember saying to you, I was like, oh, it was his back. But I don't think
you tricked me.
Yeah. I mean, it's close, back concussion.
Right, and this is important because when Kmet's been healthy, Loveland hasn't really been on the field that much, except for last week. And, the first half, Kmet barely played. I don't know if that's because he was banged up coming into the game or they're just making a change now. But concussion's usually not a long-term thing. All right, anyway, we got the Chargers offensive line beat up. We got the Lions, guys. The Lions offensive line is super beat up. Guard Christian Mahogany could miss much of the rest of the season with a knee injury. And aren't both tackles banged up right now for the Lions?
They are. Decker left the game, came back in. Sewell played through an injury. I would assume that both will be on the injury report this week, but I don't know if either one's in danger of missing their next game.
Okay.
I believe Dan Campbell talked this morning, probably asked about if Frank Ragnow would come out of retirement. He said, I believe the quote was, that ship has sailed.
Oh, all right. Well, he'll probably come back and play for the Eagles because everyone's going to the Eagles these days. They already got Brandon Graham out of retirement. They traded for Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins. The Ravens acquired edge rusher Draymond Jones from Tennessee. The Ravens do not have a pass rush currently. And the Cowboys, they're in it to win it. They acquired Logan Wilson, linebacker from Cincinnati. I think that's going to hurt Cincinnati's run defense. Actually, he hasn't really played that much.
I'm not sure it helps Dallas's run defense.
Yeah. I will leave it at that for the defensive injuries. I'm going to read a quick email of the day. It's from Dan DiCenzo. We don't have to react to this. We can just let it be because it's the best email ever. He said, I just wanted to defend Adam and say that not only does pumpkin pie taste gross, but it also has the consistency and color of baby poo. Let's go to the top 3 players at each position. Jamey, top 3 quarterbacks this week.
Pumpkin pie,
Yeah.
and pumpkin pie. Top 3 quarterbacks is a bad week for quarterbacks, as bad as this for running back. So for me, the top 3 are Marcus Mariota stepping into the role for Jane Daniels. I know it's not pretty, but not the toughest of matchups coming up until their bye week. They get Detroit this week and then Miami next week. I have Justin Fields second. I expect him to start. I can't imagine that he wouldn't. More of a long-term play than a short-term play. His playoff schedule is fantastic. And the same thing with J.J. McCarthy. Don't love him against Baltimore this week. Week 11 against Chicago, which is not bad. But then the playoff schedule is fantastic for him. Gets Washington, Dallas, the Giants, and Detroit. So hopefully he continues to play well and build off I think we all forget it's only 3 starts for him, but builds off the 3 starts that he's made and can finish the season strong. So there's not really a good short-term answer. Again, for me, it would be Mariota as the best one. But these are guys in Fields and McCarthy you can stash for the playoffs.
What about Purdy? He's about 70% rostered. He is 55% rostered on Sleeper, which is usually pretty close to ESPN and Yahoo. Don't know when he's coming back, but hopefully soon. Would Purdy be a big priority for you, Jamey?
Purdy would be one, yeah. If we're looking at those guys, I don't know where they are on other sites, but Darnold would obviously be one. He was one for us last week and, came through with a big performance against Washington. Obviously, you want to pick up and stash Flacco for the rest of the season, based on what he's done so far, averaging over 29 points per game as a starter. And then Purdy would be the other one. Yeah, I think those 3 guys in terms of just above the percentage that we talk about.
I think Flacco would be one, no?
Well, if you're looking for this week, Flacco's on a bye. So, yeah, if you don't have to play a quarterback for this week, then obviously Flacco would be the best rest of season.
Okay. By the way, Mariota gets Dallas in the fantasy championship. Now, Daniels could be back at that point, but that's pretty cool. All right, Dave, top 3 running back. We haven't mentioned a running back yet. Top 3 running
Weird,
back?
right? Usually we do.
Yeah.
Hold your nose because these guys aren't great. So hopefully you don't need a running back. But if you do, Devin Singletary would be at the top of the list, 90% available, split reps close to evenly with Tyrone Tracy. It was disappointing. Coaching staff likes him. They're very familiar with his game. And I don't think he's going away anytime soon. I really don't have strong feelings about the next 2 names. I'm thinking stash with Devin Neal, who played 40% of the snaps for the Saints. He played 6 of 9 snaps on 3rd down. He had their lone snap inside the 10. It's just thinking that he's eventually going to see more than 40% of the snaps, and maybe he evolves into a running back that helps you later on this season. And then after that, we're talking about guys like Terrell Jennings, Jeremy McNichols, Bashal Tutin. Well, we will know after 4:00 whether or not Isaiah Davis becomes a thing. I can tell you right now that if Breece Hall gets traded, Isaiah Davis leaps to the top of this list, top of every list, as far as people to add, because he would get an opportunity, I think, to be the lead back for the New York Jets, and he's played pretty well in the limited opportunities he's had.
Okay, so Singletary, Devin Neal, Terrell Jennings. By the way, Kamara fumbled. I don't think he had a touch after the fumble. I'm not sure.
He did one. Kellen Moore was asked about that, and he basically defended Kamara.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, the team's a mess.
Yes, they are. Jamey, top 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, Parker Washington would be one, just looking again at what his opportunity is, and hopefully we'll take advantage of it. After him, I go Torrey Horton second. Excited to see if he continues to get a bigger role. He has actually 4 games this season with exactly 4 targets. He has not had more than 4 targets in a game. In every game where he's gotten exactly 4 targets, he has scored a touchdown. So let's get him a little more opportunities going. Not an easy matchup this week against Arizona, but if Cooper Kupp is out, you just got to love the opportunity for him. And then I have Josh Downs third. You could say Alec Pierce is third. I just think Downs has been a little bit more consistent. His targets have been a little bit more consistent as well. Pierce's upside is great. Yet to score a touchdown this season, but Downs very quietly is getting the job done. And so this is another team that's got a lot of mouths to feed. You've seen, obviously, Tyler Warren play great. Michael Pittman's played great. Downs and Pierce kind of been alternating who's the 3, who's the 4 based on their production. I just feel a little bit more comfortable with Downs based on his role.
I would love to be the fantasy manager that doesn't need anything this week, but maybe needs a wide receiver to stash moving forward. Horton would be the first name on that list. I don't know how the Seahawks could turn back to Cooper
Yeah.
Kupp and give him a huge role when Torrey Horton is doing what he's doing. Like if he's doing well on 4 targets, imagine what he could do on, I don't know, 5 targets, 6 targets. I would love to see something like that happen. The problem is that we haven't seen the Seahawks offense and coaching staff, I should say coaching staff, adjust to things that they've seen on the field. Exhibit A is the running backs, and they're just sticking to how they've been utilizing their running backs week after week after week without really changing, even though one of them seems to be a little bit more efficient than the other. So it's a little bit of a risk with Horton. If you're just looking for a stash at receiver, Horton would be at the top of the list. Tez Johnson would be second. Alec Pierce would be third. But there's a lot of receivers. Jamie, you talked about this. There are a lot of wideouts that you can pick up and stash and see what happens. The only one that I think you can really use right away, and it's in full PPR, is Washington. And even then, it's not a great matchup.
But why not Tez Johnson, though? I think, Jamie, you have him right behind this group here. And why not Chris Godwin? So Tez Johnson, 62%. Chris Godwin is 69% rostered. So that's why he's not on this list. But, yeah, just talk about those two guys, Jamie, and how they fit in with Washington, Horton, and Josh Downs.
So I have Godwin in the other list of the shallower leagues. So he's in the story. I know we'll talk about him when you asked about that category. I think in the case of Tez Johnson, if Godwin comes back, I have little interest in him. So whether he's better than Godwin, Dave's right. He could be better than Godwin. I just don't think we're going to get enough targets from him to be trustworthy. He'll be a guy they take some shots with. He'll end up being their third receiver. I just think that if Godwin's back and they feel comfortable enough with him, remember, he came back from the ankle injury and it was a 10-target game right away. So Baker will lean on him. Baker obviously trusts him. This is Godwin. And I think Tez Johnson just is sort of the break glass in case of emergency. So if you want to go through waivers and sort of play this out, I'm going to take Washington with what his role is. I'm going to take the upside of what Horton's role could be. I think Downs and Pierce have earned enough, with their production to be ahead of Tez Johnson. And then Johnson and sort of Darius Slayton kind of feel somewhat similar to me in terms of what they can do. If you tell me right now Godwin's not coming back, then yes, Tez Johnson would bump up a couple spots. But I just don't know. I don't think anybody does.
How much should this matter when the Colts wide receivers, Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, both available in enough leagues, got Atlanta this week. They're 7th best against wide receivers. Struggled a little bit the last 2 weeks as they've had some injuries. Then
You're
they have
about to run down their schedule? Yeah, this is a good
Atlanta, then a bye, then the Chiefs, who are 6th best, then the Texans, who are 2nd best.
And he's talked about this on Sunday that we've been saying the home road splits for Daniel Jones. And as I mentioned, it's the dome outdoor splits, I think, that sort of matter most because his road game at the Chargers was great also. So can he get the job done in not great environments, especially as the weather starts to get bad? I don't know if that's a Daniel Jones thing per se, because obviously he played, for the Giants, but at least it's playing itself out right now with the Colts. So I don't know if you want to invest heavily in them. And that kind of plays itself into why I like Downs better than Pierce. We're just looking at Pierce coming off a game against a secondary that has struggled to defend big plays down the field. And he has this big game against the Steelers. He has a jump in targets. 3 games ago, he had another big game, a spike in targets. It was without Downs playing. It was out with the concussion. So I don't want to chase that per se. I would rather go with what Downs has done and maybe can continue to do as a short area target. So I don't know if they're must-start guys. Again, we've said this week in, week out. There's not a lot of must-start wide receivers that have become available on waivers. They might be, but we've just had enough examples of this where it's 1 week disappear, 3 weeks disappear. What we were saying about Torrey Franklin, for example, which is why you can go back to him if he was dropped. We said it last week. Torrey Franklin coming off the huge game against Dallas. He's probably going to struggle against Houston, may get dropped. Still had 10 targets. It was awesome. Did nothing with it. Now he gets the Raiders. I'm going right back to Torrey Franklin as a high-end number 3 receiver this week.
So I think the bigger issue with Daniel Jones, I don't think it's the location of where he plays. I think it's the pass rush that he has to deal with. Because I went back and watched the Steelers. Their pass rush came alive last week in a big way. And Daniel Jones is like most quarterbacks. In fact, he's probably worse than most quarterbacks when he's under pressure. He's been doing a better job than he did with the Giants this year. But there are a lot of teams coming up on the schedule for Indianapolis that's going to put him under pressure. I like Alec Pierce a lot as a talent, but you're right, Jamey. I think that this is a situation where you want to go with the shorter option somebody that's going to catch a bunch of those short throws when Jones knows he's got to get the ball out fast. And that's going to be something that Downs will be able to do. Plus, he's more available than Alec Pierce is. And we might be dropping both guys after this week against Atlanta anyway. So I don't think a huge investment should be made in either Downs or Pierce unless it's a keeper league. Alec Pierce is in a contract year. The way that he's playing and the way his highlights have looked, he's going to get a big deal as a free agent this offseason.
Okay. This is kind of funny. It seems that Daniel Jones only played 3 games with the Giants in a dome. He played 4, but he left that one of them with an injury. In his
career?
Games, yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Didn't he play against the Cowboys every year in Dallas?
Not a dome.
Dallas is a dome.
It's not according to True Media.
Yeah, well, they're wrong. When's the last time there was wind and rain at AT&T Stadium?
All right, but the indoor games,
remember that big snow game at AT&T Stadium? Wow.
Indoor games, he averaged 353 yards with 7 touchdowns in those 3 games and 2 interceptions.
I believe they have a retractable roof option on that same filter.
Okay. Retractable roof. All right. Okay, I'll try to do the math for you. Let's see. Yards in these games: 322, 222, 402, 228, 334, 321, 190. All right. Let's go to tight end.
I think it more has to do with he's playing behind a really good offensive line with a good coach and some great players, and the offensive line finally fell apart against the Steelers. So the Steelers' pass rush was great. Their offensive line was miserable for the first time all season. Quentin Nelson talked about that after the game. Like this was bad for us, and it just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see if they hold up against the Falcons and the Chiefs.
Okay, Dave, who are our top 3 tight ends?
I already talked about mine. Fannin, Njoku, Loveland. Would you like 3 more?
Sure.
Mason Taylor still makes the list. Jawan Johnson, he's been pretty good his last 3 games. Cade Otton, if nobody gets healthy for Tampa coming out of the bye, would be an interesting option against New England.
The easiest choice to go get, and one that might have immense upside, is barring trade, Luke Musgrave. He is going to step into Tucker Kraft's role and did a nice job in his rookie season when Kraft was banged up. This is a better offense that I think will allow him to flourish a little bit. Matt LaFleur was talking about he can still make plays down the field, similar to what Tucker Kraft was doing. So he's as available as any tight end you'll find.
I got one more for you, but I'm going to wait until we talk about players available in deeper leagues.
Sure. All right. Well, now it's time for coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. Jamey, give me a DST to stream this week.
It's actually a pretty good week for DSTs. I'm going to go to the Browns coming off their bye week. They've been a very good DST, and they get the Jets. And so Garrett Wilson may return. We'll see who the quarterback's going to be. Obviously, the trade deadline could determine what the running back situation is. But the Browns DST has been really good. The Jets offense has struggled at times. So that's the number 1 DST for me this week.
Browns 55% rostered. Jamey also likes the Bills. They're at Miami, and the Panthers against the Saints. Okay, also the Ravens. You could take the Ravens have Minnesota and then Cleveland and then the Jets. So the Ravens have kind of a good stretch coming up, and they've been better just as a DST.
12 or more fantasy points in 2 of their past 3. They need another pass rusher. I know they just traded for Draymond Jones, but I don't know how good he is at getting to the quarterback. They need somebody else.
All right. That was coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. And Jamey, who are the kickers to stream?
Again, guys coming off bye weeks are always easy to take a look at. Chase McLaughlin's been good so far this season after a slow start. Gets the Patriots. Jason Myers gets the Cardinals at home. Joshua Carty gets the 49ers. Matt Prater gets the Dolphins, assuming he's still the kicker. Just keep an eye on that. And then Will Lutz at home against the Raiders.
Excellent. And I think I have to move on from Brandon McManus. He's not healthy. He is not playing well. But if they go to their backup, I can't remember who their backup was for the Packers. He was pretty good.
Haversick.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He was.
So keep an eye on that situation. All right, we're going to take a break. Shallow leagues, deep leagues, the best rule proposal. I'm going to make football more fair. And we'll recap Monday Night Football.
Do these rules apply in a dome or out of dome?
Dome, yes. Retractable roof, no.
I mean, that's one of the dumbest things you've ever said.
Look, I did a filter. I searched for dome. I didn't think retractable roof. I've never done this search before. I'm learning. All right, we'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
That is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay. Luckily, I'm here in my indoor house. No confusion. No,
Not a retractable roof on your house, huh?
No, nothing there. All right, Jamey, shallow leagues, things get interesting, right? We've already said a few names that are Flacco, league winner, maybe Purdy, some good players here. Who are we looking at? Who are the prizes in the shallow leagues?
Quarterbacks are great. Darnold and Flacco, I think, have proven that they could be long-standing rest of season starters for your team. Darnold plays this week, not an easy matchup against the Cardinals, as we find out week after week. Flacco does not matter, so pick those two guys up. Yes, if you're just looking long-term, Flacco should be the top guy to go get. Brock Purdy in the same situation. He's in the same spot in my column every week, and I say the same thing every week. Hopefully he returns and can be the guy that we know he's capable of being, but right now still dealing with his toe injury that the 49ers don't seem to want to rush. And then for Aaron Rodgers, again, if you're looking ahead, don't love him this week against the Chargers, but then he gets the 2-game turnaround that we've fallen into, I think, with a couple of teams recently. Cincinnati in week 11, Chicago in week 12. So looking ahead, he can certainly be somebody that can carry you for those 2 games, I think, especially based on what the Cowboys look like. At running back, it's a little bit better than the list Dave gave you because we have a few more options, not many, but a few more. But Trey Benson hopefully will return this week. He's 78% roster. We've been saying this for a few weeks now. And I don't really think you're going to start this guy anytime soon, but again, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson Jr., stash them on your bench. Something ever happens to the guys in front of them, they would be must-start running back. So Algier is in the range of the shallow league guys. Wide receiver, there's a few situations here based on trades, but Trey Tucker, just in case Jacoby Myers is traded. Rashid Shaheed, we'll see if he gets traded. He's a likely candidate to be on the move, but he's been playing very well regardless of where he ends up playing. So best game with Tyler Shuck was from Shaheed. Troy Franklin, like I said, go right back to him. Juwan Jennings, 67% roster, and Christian Watson maybe gets a few more opportunities now with Matthew Golden hurt and obviously the tight end situation being what it is without Kraft there. And then at tight end, you can take a look at Mark Andrews if you want to. You know, Lamar Jackson back, that obviously makes Andrews more attractive. And Theo Johnson, it's funny, Dallas Goedert, his best games have come against the Giants. Theo Johnson's worst games have come against the Eagles. But he does have 6 touchdowns in 5 games with Jackson Dart. So continues to be a go-to guy for Dart.
So how would you compare Juwan Jennings, Christian Watson specifically to Parker Washington?
At this point, I'd rather have Parker Washington, but they're not far apart.
Dave,
Washington feels more short term. Like it's really close for me between Washington and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
The only concern with Jennings is Pearsall may be back. Ayuk may be back. You know, it's just a lot of mouths to feed, and they're starting to run the ball better.
They also, I think I saw that Shanahan said that he's not ready to rule out Pearsall yet, that he's going to practice this week.
Oh, wow. Wouldn't that be something?
Remember when we were, no, Jennings is the better one. No, Pearsall's the better one. No, it really does not matter.
I think I'm, of course, going to do it next year because you have to. But one of the dumbest pieces of analysis ever is, well, this is what the 49ers are going to look like when everyone's healthy. Because there's never one game in any single season where everyone is healthy. Someone is always hurt, usually more than one person.
All right, so you'll tell us what they're going to look like when a random person is not healthy.
Yeah, we could try. All right, Dave. Eric Cartman is about to become a prospector. None of these guys are available in my league. Who are the deep league guys?
Marcus Mariota is back in our lives, 90% available. He's got the Lions. They've allowed at least 21 fantasy points to 5 of the past 7 quarterbacks that they've taken on, including J.J. McCarthy last week. Mariota's been 20-plus in 4 of his past 6 when he's played a majority of the snaps. I wish Terry McLaurin were healthy. He's not, so Mariota's going to have to make do without him, but he's been pretty good. Plus, he runs a little bit. Other quarterbacks, it ain't pretty. It's Bryce Young, 76% available. Tyler Shuck, he's playing Carolina. They've allowed a lot of fantasy points to every quarterback not named Jordan Love lately. But I can't start Tyler Shuck. And I don't know if we've got another quarterback. Maybe Tyrod Taylor if he ends up.
We got to look at Davis Mills and Superflex and 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's fine too. You can go to Davis Mills, but I've been down that road before, and it's a gross road. Devin Singletary at running back, 90% available. Devin Neal, 81% available. Jeremy McNichols, 86% available. Terrell
Before you
Jennings.
name them, is there anyone that you actually like,
No,
or is just names?
no, these are just names.
Okay.
You want me just to skip? You want me to skip and just only go to the people who I like?
I think if you were actually in a deep league where these were your
really fast if we do that.
that's fine. I mean, look, if you're looking at the waiver wire and all these players are available, is there anyone that actually piques your interest?
Singletary at running back would be the only one that would mildly pique my interest. But even then, like, can I expect 10 PPR fantasy points from any of the running backs I just rifled through? And the answer is no, not really. No.
Okay. Any wide receivers though that pique your interest?
I think Parker Washington can get you north of 10 PPR points, and he's 92% available. Torrey Horton is 85% available, but he's more stash than start. Cedric Tillman, you can stash on your IR until he's activated. It sounds like he'll be activated this week, but he'll buy you a roster spot for a few days anyway, and he's 88% available. And then at tight end, Loveland, 75% available. Mason Taylor, 75% available. Luke Musgrave is 100% available. And now the secret name, another IR stash. We've talked about him before, but especially now if the Jaguars are going through injuries at wide receiver, Brenton Strange, 84% available. You can literally make him your last waiver claim, and you will get him because no one's thinking about getting Strange right now. But you can get him and stash him on your IR until he's ready to play.
There's 3 other wide receivers that may have an impact for deeper leagues and deeper leagues only, and you got to keep an eye on some injury situations. One would be Jamey Brown, because if both Jaguars receivers are out, he's going to play a lot.
He was concussed last week, was he? Am I right on that?
I saw him at the end of the game. I don't know if he cleared the protocol or not, but I don't believe he's on the injury report.
Oh yeah, no, he was just prior to overtime. He was ruled out.
Okay, so
Yeah.
keep an eye on that.
That's a reason to like Parker Washington.
The next would be Jalen Lane, with not only McLaurin out, but also McCaffrey's out. So Jalen Lane is somebody that can make some plays. And prior to their bye week, if you recall, Garrett Wilson was out. We know Tyler Johnson caught a touchdown in the game against Cincinnati and had, prior to that, a 60-yard game as well. So deeper leagues, these 3 guys could have somewhat of an impact if you're looking for just some help.
Okay. By the way, I'm really glad you brought up Brenton Strange, because Brenton Strange was sort of onto something pretty good there before going on IR. And
he's still 2 games away, though.
Well, he's out this week, and then I think he can come back. He's missed 3 games, so he's eligible to return in week 11.
Yep.
Brenton Strange, 16% rostered. All right. I think it's time for a recap of Monday Night Football with
Wait
Arizona.
a minute. Don't you have a big rule change that you want to add to games that are held in stadiums with certain types of roofs?
So this was during the game. George Pickens caught a pass for a first down, and then he showed the ball to the opponent, and he got flagged for 15 yards. And they kept the play. The result of the play was a first down, and they moved them back 15 yards, and it's 1st and 10. So it wasn't that crippling. Now, if he had caught that ball a yard in front of the first down marker, I don't remember what down it was, but let's say it was 2nd down and 1, and then he got that personal foul penalty, becomes 2nd down and 16, right? So I think the difference between the penalty if you pick up the first down versus the penalty if you don't pick up the first down is it's too different, right? The severity is, there's too much of a gap in it. So I propose that if you get, we'll use this example, 2nd and 1, and you get a personal foul penalty, you move the ball back 15 yards, but it remains 2nd and 1. You move the yard to gain back 15 yards. So you are penalizing the team by moving them 15 yards back, but you are not making it 2nd down and 16. You are still keeping it 2nd down and 1.
You love participation trophies, don't you?
I just don't think it makes any sense. Oh, you picked up a first down, so you keep the first down. It's 1st and 10. Why not make it 1st and 25? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense to keep it 1st and 10 and move a team back 15 yards, whereas you don't keep it 2nd and 1 and move a team back 15 yards. You make it 2nd and 16.
You're the type of guy that goes and watches a game and says, "I can't wait to see the referees."
I think
you want more chaos from officials.
I want less chaos. Tell me this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
I could see it. I could see it in Dave's face while I was saying it, that he was kind of agreeing with me.
No, not even a little. It's an after the play penalty. So the play has to stand.
I completely
That's the
agree.
difference between that and like a holding penalty.
Right.
The
Holding
quarterback
penalty,
throws a touchdown, 95 yards or whatever, and it comes back due to a holding penalty. The play doesn't count because the penalty happened during the play, and the penalty is enforced, but you still get to keep the down.
Dave, you're making my point for me, because here's another one.
Wow.
Because what I'm saying, okay, it's like it's like a kickoff, right? You could say, all right, I'm going to take the penalty and move them back 15 yards for the kickoff. So, this is an after the play penalty. You should not lose the yardage as it relates to how many yards you need for the first down. Move the team back 15 yards, but keep the down and distance. I just don't understand why you wouldn't do it. If they pick up a first down, there's really no penalty other than moving back 15 yards. If they don't pick up a first down, it's so punitive. You're 15 yards back from what you need to gain. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's penalizing them for being stupid.
I understand, but it's a different consequence if you picked up the first down on the play or if you
don't be stupid.
I agree, but you still get a penalty by moving back 15 yards. It just stays as 2nd and 1.
All right, let me ask you a question.
David.
You're one of your children, they want a piece of candy.
Yeah.
And you say, no, they can't have candy. They take the candy container, which is glass, and they break the glass container. Right? It's now smashed all over the floor.
Did this happen at your house?
No. I just want to know how Adam would handle this.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
So now they've created a problem for you. They take the candy and they eat it because it's now available all over the floor. Are you going to take the candy out of their mouth?
Is this an indoor house or a retractable roof
Your
house?
Who knows?
All right, let's get into the game. 27-17, Arizona with the win, and Amari DiMercato supplanting Bam Knight. Bam Knight, I think, was really the short yardage goal line guy, but he couldn't get in. But that was a real bummer, and we might get Trey Benson back this week against Seattle. We'll hope. But we didn't even mention. Does anybody want to pick up DiMercato?
No, you got to be.
It just feels like it's going to be messy, and you're talking about Seattle. Mm-hmm. So, like, I want to roster Trey Benson. I don't want to start Trey Benson next week if he comes back because he's coming back from a 4-game layoff, a 5-week layoff with the bye week, and yeah, I want to see what this is rest of season. Like last night was just frustrating.
And we've talked about their schedule moving forward. There's more bad than good for the Cardinals run game based on matchups.
And do you think Jacoby Brissett keeps the job?
So we got different reports. Jonathan Gannon said nothing's changed, and I don't know if that meant nothing's changed. Like he was asked about Kyler and said nothing's changed, but he could really take that any way he wants to, if he wanted to be direct. The broadcast, according to Schefter, said that they're going to stick with Jacoby Brissett. Now that could easily be the same thing. Hey, Kyler's not healthy yet. We're going to stick with Brissett and give Kyler more time to get close to 100%. Or it can mean that that's what they said in the broadcast meeting, which you get a lot of information from those guys. So I'm treating it as Brissett starting in week 11, and we'll see what happens after that.
Week 10.
Week 10, sorry.
Okay.
Because Brissett could stink in week 10, and then now they've got their excuse to go back to Kyler in week 11.
Well, he's been so good, though.
He's been
23.8 or more fantasy points in 3 straight games, 2 of them fairly easy matchups, but Green Bay, at the Colts, at Dallas, and
Where
Seattle.
was the Colts game, Adam?
What's that?
Where was the Colts game?
The Colts
solar-powered stadium.
Yeah, they ripped the roof off of the stadium in Indianapolis. All right, big game for Marvin Harrison. Deron Bland just could not cover him at all. Anything to add here on this game? Cowboys, you want to talk about the Cowboys? I mean, all 3 of the pass catchers were very involved, 7 or more targets. This is exactly what we want. Javonte had
What would the final score be if the Cowboys played the Bengals?
Oh, boy.
I don't know how many punts there would be in that game. Maybe 1 after a personal foul penalty pushed them back too far on 3rd down to, not go for it. I would say it would be very close to the 47-42 score that we saw from.
Oh, I would take the over. 75-71.
Yeah, for the record, I think this one I've brought up many times. I think holding should be a 7 or an 8 yard penalty, not 10.
Oh my gosh. We're going to start making non-even numbers or
Oh yeah,
Holding,
do
fives
that.
or tens.
holding number
Five.
71, 6.5 yards back.
Yeah.
It
First
has
and
to be.
4.5.
What are we in kindergarten? It has to be. We have to use
We
blocks.
cannot let you be in charge of the rules at the NFL. Ever,
Actually,
ever.
I really think what I say about the personal foul is I think if you just think about it, it just makes sense. And I'm upset that nobody's on board with this. Thomas even sent a chat in the private chat, said, let's move on. And he never does that to me. So he thinks I'm way off. That's really disappointing. All right, drop-o-meter. I don't have a lot here. We'll go maybe go through it position by position, but Tyrone Tracy Jr. on the drop-o-meter.
Not yet.
0.
Keon Coleman.
How high
What
is the
did I
drop-o-meter
say
go?
last week? 11? 12?
Yeah.
13. We'll go 13 on Keon now.
If he
By the
does-
way, you did win that one, Adam, though.
What?
Rashard Smith versus Keon Coleman. Coleman was better.
Oh, was he really? Nice.
I'm glad Keon won something this year.
If he
My
does not
word.
get traded, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. 5.
7.
Trey Tucker, if Jacoby Myers does not get traded.
7.
Same.
Xavier Worthy.
2.
3.
Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
2.
5.
All right. There's a matchup against Miami in a couple weeks. That's not bad. Giants and
Give me
Dallas.
8 fantasy points.
To the waiver wire. All right. We have said a lot of it, but at quarterback, Joe Flacco would be the prize if he's available. Obviously, you have to stash him. He doesn't have a good schedule, but it doesn't really seem to matter.
Doesn't matter. No.
Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. Who would you prefer, Purdy or Darnold?
Darnold.
Agreed.
And Rodgers, Jamey said not this week, but he gets Cincinnati and then Chicago in the weeks after that. All right. And then Jamey's got Mariota 1 against Detroit. They're 22nd against quarterbacks. It's kind of hard to rate them because they've been so injured. So Detroit, then Miami, then a bye for Mariota. Justin Fields may or may not start this week against Cleveland. J.J. McCarthy against Baltimore, who's been very good the last 3 weeks against quarterbacks. Yeah. Geno Smith, not
again, both those guys, Fields and McCarthy, is more of their playoff schedule than it is their current schedule.
Okay. And then Geno Smith is more for next week when he gets Dallas. This week he gets Denver.
Yeah, although to be fair, 3 of 5 games with Brock Bowers on the field. Forget about what state Bowers was in from weeks 2, 3, and 4. 19.5 fantasy points or more for Geno in 3 of those games.
All right, let's. I want to talk about Penix here because if you need a guy just for this week, because a lot of these guys are kind of on this list: Mariota, Fields, McCarthy, Geno Smith. At least 3 of those guys seem to be more for a stash. But who's your favorite quarterback this week, Jamey? It's Mariota?
Yes.
All right. I kind of like Penix going up against the Colts. Dave, who do you like, Mariota or Penix?
I kind of like McCarthy ahead of both of them. And Penix might be next before Mariota. Like in a lot of leagues, those guys are rostered already. So I understand why Mariota would be at the top of the list.
Okay. And then we have Jacoby Brissett. If Jacoby Brissett were starting this week, how would you feel about him at Seattle?
Don't love him.
I'd be nervous.
Okay.
I know he's played great. We've seen other quarterbacks come into games against Seattle playing great and they get stymied.
Yeah, Seattle's just a lot healthier than they were earlier in the year, even though they're missing Julian Love, one of their safeties.
And one of their corners got shaken up in the game. But even without him playing, I think that Seattle's defense can hang. They'll make it hard on Brissett. Brissett could get to 20 fantasy points, but he's going to be he won't be a top 12 quarterback. He'll be in that range of guys who have a decent floor, not a high ceiling. And I think McCarthy is in that range, except I think he could have a slightly higher ceiling, not even slightly, a higher ceiling than Jacoby Brissett. I know he's playing Baltimore, but Ravens still aren't developing a pass rush, and McCarthy I thought he looked good last week.
Okay. I just like Penix and hopefully a shootout. He just really has to get that second touchdown. It's just that's what it is with him.
Just throw it to London.
Yeah, Drake
London and keep him running. Like he did a little bit more moving around and running last week. And it's an easier matchup, no question.
All right. So look, we got some good quarterbacks on bye this week, right? And we got some bad defenses on bye too, with Cincinnati and Dallas. So I could see people needing quarterback this week. Running back, Trey Benson is 78% rostered. I can't believe that. Tyler Algier, 66%. Devin Singletary, I'm pretty much going to skip this here. But who do you think the best Giants running back will be rest of season?
Ugh. Joe Morris.
Jackson Dart. I don't know if I say that with sarcasm.
Just feels so awful after what we said last week.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like a complete throwaway here. They score points, and also Singletary was involved right from the jump. It wasn't like it was just the fourth quarter. They were splitting even early in the game, so that stinks. But at least the offense is putting up some points.
Who's most likely to fumble and get benched for fumbling?
I mean, Tracy
and Sing. Right. That might be enough to tip the scale towards Singletary.
Yeah,
he is right.
Terrell Jennings is second on the list. Tank Bigsby and Dylan Sampson would be worth adding, certainly, if their starters were out. We're not expecting
Jennings looked a lot like Ramondre Stevenson minus the fumbles. So I wonder how healthy Ramondre is.
Yeah, we don't know how long Stevenson's going to be out.
Right. But I wonder if the Patriots make it even more of a mess in that backfield, because Jennings, I mean, it wasn't like he was super efficient, but he was a good hammer for them. And they used him in short yardage.
And he was pretty much every single carry right up the middle. Whereas once again, they were trying
to do that with Henderson too, though. So many of Henderson's carries.
But not quite the same. Henderson, by the way, you look at his stat line, Henderson averaged 3.9 yards per carry. His last carry went for -8 yards. He got hit in the backfield. Yep. Without that, he was at 4.9 yards per carry. He was a pretty efficient game until that last play.
Yeah, right. I don't know if he's a complete running back. I mean, you can tell that the Patriots coaches don't believe that he's a complete running back because they're having him share even without Ramondre there.
Okay. And then Emmanuel Wilson is just another name I wanted to bring up because I feel like Josh Jacobs gets banged up every single game now. So Wilson's 46% roster. He's obviously
How about Sean Tucker as a stash? Because we don't know when Bucky Irving's coming back unless Jamie's heard something. I don't know. And Rachaad White hasn't been that great of a runner. This is another name. It's got to be in deeper leagues. He's 88% available. Maybe you throw him at the back of your bench and see what happens this week.
Would you drop? Oh, wait. So 2 more names. Any interest in Chris Rodriguez and Jared Patterson for the Chargers?
Also, no.
I mean, Patterson, I guess, in deeper leagues if you want to handcuff Vidal.
Wide receivers, then we'll get to. Would you drop Bam Knight?
Not yet.
Only if he's taking up your last roster spot and you need the roster spot. Otherwise, no, not yet. Although it will be a lot easier to do if we learn that Trey Benson's definitely coming back.
Well, I mean, he just lost his job basically to Amari DiMercato, and now he's playing the best run defense in football. Granted,
he had the majority of the snaps last night.
He got half as many carries as DiMercato.
He played most inside the 5.
That's true.
Almost 60% of the snaps. DiMercato's their pass.
Well, they don't want DiMercato anywhere near the end zone.
I think he had a couple of runs, at least in the red zone.
Yeah. Oh, someone wants me to say about Bam Knight, fooled you. Yep, I got fooled. No question. All right. And I will get fooled again. Wide receiver.
We all will.
Rashid Shaheed, Troy Franklin, Chris Godwin, Trey Tucker, Jawan Jennings, Christian Watson. Those are the shallower league guys. Who's your favorite there, Jamie? Rashid Shaheed, Franklin, Godwin, Tucker, Jennings, Watson.
Assuming no trade, it would be Franklin.
And assuming a trade, maybe Shaheed?
Yep.
All right. Let's add Parker Washington, Torrey Horton, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. We talked about Tez Johnson. Darius Slayton could have had 2 big games in a row, but had a touchdown call back, and then he dropped one. He's facing the Bears, who are allowing the second most completions of 20 or more air yards. So Slayton could be okay. He actually had a decent game. He had 11.2 fantasy points this past week. Not really feeling it with Demario Douglas, Jamie?
No, I think you got to, just take it for what it is. Like the Patriot. First off, we don't know how long Booty's going to be out, if he's going to be out. And then Douglas has just sort of flashed a big play here or there. I loved him coming into the season. He just hasn't played that role. So we'll see if he takes advantage of this. Drake May is just doing such a fantastic job of finding the open guy, making that guy look good for a play or a week, and then just moving on to the next guy. So it could be Douglas's turn. He's not a bad guy once you get bad player to add, receiver to add once you get through, first run, second run, third run of waivers or cheap on FAB. But I just don't want to say must start player yet.
I wonder if the public goes a little more crazy over Douglas because the stat line was so good. And I think there's a chance that the Patriots-Bucks game this week is high scoring. And we know the Bucks run defense is usually pretty good. Patriots, we've already talked about their run offense and, the shortcomings that they have. Douglas, if there's no booty this week, could end up getting like another decent target volume week. So maybe for 1 week, you take the chance on him.
Yeah, it's not as ideal with Christian Gonzalez being healthy.
What do you mean?
Well, is he healthy though? Because he's
So he said after the game that he was good. He cleared the concussion protocol.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, that's good. Right. Well, that hurts Tampa more than anything else, doesn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of shootout though, like we haven't seen that from Baker lately. And if it's Tez Johnson and Ibuka, where Christian Gonzalez is going.
K-Dot.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that he's gonna do that. Maybe you think it was a shadow Ibuka?
Probably.
Because I feel like he
makes the most sense.
I feel like he hadn't been shadowing until this past week against London. Yeah, Drake May has been so good, and he has thrown more than 30 passes only twice this year. And I think they were both losses. Yeah, Las Vegas and Pittsburgh. So hopefully we can get a lot of pass attempts from him. Calvin Austin's another name on this list. I have some questions from the chat from earlier. Torrey Horton or Romeo Dobbs rest of season?
Dobbs.
Would you drop Tez Johnson to grab Isaiah Horton and stash him?
I would.
I kind of like Tez more.
Why not Christian Watson?
Why not? He's right guy, right place, right time for Green Bay. Not a lot of healthy wide receivers there. They just lost Tucker Kraft. We'll see what their offense does to replace him or just kind of change things up. So if he's going to play a lot and we know how explosive he is, he's going to be in that boom bust number 3 receiver range pretty much every single week.
I saw this just going back to Drake May from Ian Harditz from Fantasy Life. He tweeted this this morning. Wide receiver, highest passer rating when targeted this season, minimum of 20 attempts, minimum 20 targets. Number 1, Kayshon Boutte. Number 2, Rashee Rice. Number 3, Demario Douglas. Number 4, Mac Hollins. three Patriots wide receivers.
Unbelievable. All right, tight ends. In the shallow league, see if Mark Andrews is available and Theo Johnson just keeps scoring touchdowns and doing hardly anything else. And but he has a good matchup. And Andrews, you should know, like it's hard to trust it because the targets aren't usually there. But he has 2 games left against Cincinnati. So that's a reason to maybe keep Mark Andrews.
And likely too, I guess, if you want to go that route.
Could be, yeah. And Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Hey, JK. All right, Jamie's favorites are Harold Fannin Jr. So if you guys both like the Browns tight ends and Colston Loveland, would you drop Mark Andrews for them?
Yes.
Yep.
Would you drop Theo Johnson for them?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Would you drop Andrews or Johnson for Kate Otten?
Yes.
Johnson, yes. That's it. I'm done.
Would you drop Andrews or Johnson for Luke Musgrave?
No.
Not there yet, no.
Would you rather have Harold Fannin Jr., Colston Loveland, Kate Otten, David Njoku, or Kyle Pitts, who I believe has an amazing matchup this week? Yeah, the Colts have been horrible.
Yeah.
Still Pitts.
If it's a rest of season thing, I think I'd take Fannin. Maybe Njoku too.
The benefit to that is Pitts still has his bye coming up, and those guys don't.
That's true. TJ Hawkinson? Anybody want TJ Hawkinson?
No.
I'd rather have the Browns guys.
How are we feeling about Zach Ertz right now?
Not great.
His worst games this season have come with Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Did McLaurin play in those games? I think McLaurin played in one of those games. Okay. And our other names on the list, Luke Musgrave. Someone said, do you think, can we get 70% of Tucker Kraft's production with Luke Musgrave?
Yes.
I'll say no.
Dalton Schultz has been good every week other than the one that we were really excited to start him. I don't know that I trust him because he had about a 40-something yard catch with CJ Stroud. He did very little with Davis Mills.
It's a great matchup this week.
Mason Taylor, who was doing some exciting things, and he plays all the time. And then Jawan Johnson at Carolina. Okay. One more name just for deeper leagues, I think, is AJ Barner. Because he's their tush push guy. You might sneak a touchdown in there, and he catches touchdowns too. He scored double-digit fantasy points in 5 of 8 games, and he's got Arizona this week. It's really not I'm not making a big case, but
is there a
AJ,
nickname for him when he does the tush push?
AJ all day.
You just made that up.
Yeah.
There's no way human beings in Seattle would suggest that as the nickname for AJ Barner.
Tush push.
AJ all day.
The Barner bus.
Barner bus in the barn. Barnes
Barner
and Noble. What'd you say?
Something worse than what you said.
Okay. DSTs, Browns, Bills, Panthers. The Bills suck, by the way, as a DST. And they were bad against the Dolphins the first game. You good with them?
I just think that the Dolphins are a mess right now, so can't hurt.
Would you pivot to the Ravens? I'm sorry to cut you off. Would you pivot to the Ravens, knowing that the Ravens' schedule is good beyond this week?
Yeah.
Cool.
Obviously, the Bills played well defensively against the Chiefs, but they don't typically do a lot of the things that lead to fantasy points. It kind of depends on your scoring. Like, they're good at keeping points off the board. They're not a high sack team, usually not getting a ton of turnovers. All right. Anyway,
at this point you're playing against Tua.
Yeah. Panthers, Ravens, Jets also in the mix. And then a kicker, Chase McLaughlin, Jason Myers, Josh Carty, Matt Prater, Will Lutz, and we will talk to you at 1 p.m. Oh, open the barn door. Not bad. Barner storming. See, other people
That's
are
not
better.
bad. Barner storming isn't not bad.
Yeah. Okay. Other people are better at this than we are. But I just want everybody to take the next few hours, before we get on CBS Sports Network, and just think about the rule change, and you'll see that it makes sense, and we'll all have a kumbaya moment. We'll all agree on it.
Don't bring it up again on the next show.
Don't bring it up again?
No.
Don't you want to hear Heath's reaction to it?
So you can say it. You can say it tomorrow if you want.
Yeah. All right.
Can you do it at the end of the show, though?
I think right at the beginning. I think a pre-show, like a separate podcast. We're out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.